Hi everybody, welcome to Macbeth lesson 22, and let's get this started. So the objectives today are to recap the events in Act 3. Second objective is to read through Act 3 scene 4. Third objective is to watch a performance of the scene, and this scene really is one of those ones that it makes so much more sense when you can see it live, also acted out. And objective 4 is to make some notes for future revision. So, in Act 3 so far, Scene 1, we meet King Macbeth, who now rules Scotland alongside his queen. And despite appearing happy and in good spirits, Macbeth is fearful of Banquo. Therefore, he needs to have Banquo murdered. Macbeth exploits two desperate men, and they agree to carry out the assassination. In Scene 2, Lady Macbeth is troubled too. She is not happy and is feeling rejected by her husband. To try and cheer him up, though, she suggests just pretending to be happy. Macbeth tells her how badly he feels, but he doesn't tell her about the plan to kill Banquo. All he says is that now he has done a bad deed, he will have to do more. And yeah, the last lesson we looked at, Scene 3, which took place away from the castle. Two murderers are joined by a third, sent by Macbeth to keep an eye on things. They are planning to ambush Banquo and Fleance. When Banquo and Fleance arrive, Banquo fights the murderers but is killed. Meanwhile, Fleance escapes. So, this is now back at the castle, okay? And Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, or King Macbeth and Queen Macbeth, depending on what to call them, she's having a banquet for all the kind of noble people, all the kind of the top level society in Scotland, and they're having a big banquet to celebrate the arrival of King Macbeth. So he starts. So as you can see at the beginning, we have an instruction from Shakespeare. There's a banquet prepared, so it's a big table with lots of food and drink and chairs, and there might be music and dancing. It all depends on how the production is put together, but it could be very lavish. And then you see Macbeth comes in, Lady Macbeth, and then the various other important Scottish noble people. Macbeth starts off. You know your own degrees. Sit down. First and last, the hearty welcome. So basically, everyone sit down, which they do. The Lords. Thanks to your majesty. Macbeth. Ourself will mingle with society and play the humble host. Our hostess keeps her state, but in best time we will require her welcome. Pronounce it for me, sir, to all our friends, for my heart speaks they are welcome. So the Macbeths here are being kind of classic good hosts. They are talking the talk, they're making the guests feel welcome, and they are basically hosting this celebration. Then the first murderer stands in the doorway. Macbeth. See, they encounter thee with their heart's thanks. Both sides are even. Here I'll sit in the midst, be large in mirth. Anon we drink and measure the table round. He's not seen the first murderer yet. He's still talking to the rest of the people in the room. But now he does turn to the murderer and says, there's blood upon on thy face. First murderer. 'Tis Banquo's then. Macbeth. 'Tis better thee without than he within. Is he dispatched? And that's like a coded way of saying, did you kill him? Have you sent him on? If you dispatch something, it means you sent it through the post. Have you delivered it? He's basically, without saying, have you killed him? It's a euphemism to just in case someone hears, because obviously there's lots of people around in this scene. First murderer says, my lord, his throat is cut, that I did for him. Macbeth, instantly pleased. Thou art the best of the cutthroats. Yet he's good that did the like for Fleance. If thou didst it, thou art the nonpareil. So basically, you're a great killer, well done, but the person who killed Fleance is just as good, unless it was you who killed Fleance as well, in which case you are the best. First murderer. Most royal sir, Fleance escaped. Bad news. Macbeth. Then comes my fit again. I had else been perfect, whole as the marble, founded as the rock, as broad and general as the casing air. But now I am cabined, cribbed, confined, bound in too saucy doubts and fears. But Banquo is safe. That's a lovely little speech there from Macbeth as he just explains how he sees his predicament. If it had been perfect, his words, then he would have felt as strong as marble, as kind of grounded as the rock, and as kind of as broad and general as the casing air. He'd have felt free, basically. He'd have felt solid, in control, and free. That's what he wants. And Banquo is the thing that's stopping him, or Banquo and Fleance are the thing that's stopping him. And because the murder hasn't quite happened according to plan, he, instead of feeling free and strong and powerful, he says, I'm cabined, cribbed, confined, bound in too saucy doubts and fears. So the words he uses instead, that little list of 3 C words, cabined, cribbed, confined, so makes him sound trapped and kind of weak, rather than this kind of ability to be strong and free. First murderer says, I, my good lord, safe in a ditch he bides, with 20 trench gashes on his head, the least a death to nature. Macbeth, thanks for that. There the grown serpent lies. The worm that's fled hath nature that in time will venom breed. No teeth for the present. Get thee gone. Tomorrow we'll hear ourselves again. So, not for the first time, not even for the second time, we have a snake metaphor here. Macbeth calls Banquo the grown serpent, as in the adult snake, and who now lies is now dead. The worm is Fleance, the baby snake that's fled, and in time, when he grows up, he'll be dangerous, he'll have venom, but at the moment he's not got any teeth to hurt Macbeth. So we've had a snake image now, I think at least 3 times that I can remember. And it's just one of those things, one of those ideas that Shakespeare keeps just bringing back in, this image of a snake. And obviously snakes and serpents have got images in Christian faith with the devil and kind of lying and treachery. So it's a real negative metaphor that's being used here. So Lady Macbeth is going to speak now. She's noticed that Macbeth has not been paying attention to the guests, so she calls him over. My royal lord, you do not give the cheer. The feast is sold that is often vouched while 'tis a making. 'Tis given with welcome. To feed were best at home. From thence the source to meet is ceremony. Meeting were bare without it. So basically, you've got to be here, Macbeth. You've got to entertain the guests. You make the food and everything better if you do that. What's the point in them being here with us if you're not kind of entertaining them? It's just boring without you, kind of thing. So she's trying to be, again, the good hostess, and for appearances, the loving wife. Macbeth says, sweet remembrancer. So he's also playing this loving husband back, pretending that everything's fine in their marriage. Sweet remembrancer, now with good digestion, weight on appetite, and health on both. So he raises a glass and he toasts the room. Lennox, one of the lords, may it please your highness, sit. So, sit down, Macbeth. Let's have your meal. At which point, the ghost of Banquo comes in and sits in the place that Lennox is indicating. Macbeth is still talking. Here had we now our country's honour roofed, were the grace person of our Banquo present, who I'd rather challenge for unkindness than pity for mischance. So he's just acknowledging that Banquo's not there in the room. Now, there may be a reason for that speech might be necessary for a practical reason. The ghost of Banquo has just arrived. Now, for the audience to see that character walk on stage, for them to understand that it's a ghost, then Macbeth saying, Macbeth says, Banquo's not here. What a shame he's not here. I hope it's just because he's being rude, and I do hope nothing bad's happened to him. So we know Banquo's been murdered. We've seen that happen. And now we've seen Banquo come back on stage. So that's confusing. But by saying this, Macbeth is leading the audience to understand that this character that's just walked on is a ghost, not Banquo still alive? Ross says, his absence, sir, lays blame upon his promise. Please, your highness, to grace us with your royal company. So Ross is now encouraging Macbeth to sit down. Macbeth says, the table's full, because from his point of view, there's no seats left. Banquo's in the only space. Banquo's ghost is in the only space, and he can see Banquo's ghost. So it looks like the table's full. Lennox, here's a place reserved, sir. Macbeth, where? Lennox, here, my good lord. What is it that moves your highness? And that is the indication there. What is it that moves your highness? That Macbeth has seen Banquo's ghost and is absolutely terrified by it. His reaction. Which of you have done this? What, my good lord? Speaking to the ghost. Macbeth says, thou canst not say I did it. Never shake thy gory locks at me. Ross. Gentlemen, rise. His highness is not well. So the idea is that Ross, recognising Macbeth is not well, thinks the best thing for everyone to do is to leave the banquet and to let Macbeth get on with it, being ill. Lady Macbeth, though, because she's all about making everyone feel like everything's okay, she says, sit, worthy friend, sit down, it's okay, sit down. My lord is often thus and has been from his youth. So she's kind of normalising this behaviour that Macbeth's demonstrating. Pray you, keep seat. The fit is momentary. Upon a thought he will be well. He will again be well. If much you note him, you shall offend him and extend his passion. Feed and regard him not. So she's basically telling everyone, just ignore him. He'll calm down in a minute. And then, as an aside to Macbeth, she goes to her favourite line of attack with him when he's not doing what she wants. Challenges her masculinity. Are you a man? And Macbeth, still looking at the ghost. Aye, and a bold one that dare look on that which might appall the devil. So he can't take his eyes off the ghost, and he's terrified. So she is, as you'd expect, very critical of him for being such an embarrassment in front of all the other people on stage. Oh, proper stuff. She's basically insulting her, calling him silly. This is the very painting of your fear. This is the air-drawn dagger which you said led you to Duncan. Oh, these flaws and starts, impostors to true fear, would well become a woman's story to winter's fire, authorised by a grandam. Shame itself. Why do you make such faces when all's done you look but on a stool? So she's basically telling him off for being scared. But she's actually even saying, look, you're not even being really scared. You're being like pretend rubbish scared. Get a grip of yourself. Again, that same kind of technique she used in Act 1. She's recycling it. That's what I'm looking for. Recycling it here in Act 3, hopefully to try and get him to come around. Prithee, see there, behold, look, lo, how say you? Why, what care I, if thou canst nod? Speak too, if charnel houses and graves must send those that we bury back, our monuments shall be the moors of kites. It's not working on Macbeth. He wants her to see. He believes that she should be able to see it. And then he talks to the ghost again. Remember, this is in front of everybody at the banquet. And he's criticising the idea of dead people not being dead anymore. So it is a very strange experience for everyone else in the room. And the ghost goes. But Lady Macbeth is still furious. What? Quite unmannered in folly? Macbeth, obviously, he's a bit more relieved now the ghost's gone. If I stand here, I saw him. Lady Macbeth, still ashamed of him. Fie for shame. Macbeth keeps talking. Blood hath been shed ere now. In the olden time, a humane statue purged the gentle wheel. Aye, and since 2 murders have been performed, too terrible for the ear, the time has been that when the brains were out, the man would die. And there was an end, and there an end. But now they rise again with 20 mortal murders on their crowns, and push us from our stools. 'Tis more strange than such a murder is. So again, he's just remembering a happier time in his life when he killed people and they stayed dead. rather than what he's just experienced this evening, which when he's killed someone, they've come back and stopped him sitting down at the table. Lady Macbeth is trying here to get Macbeth back to the issue at hand, which is entertaining and being a good host. She says, "My worthy lord, your noble friends do lack you." And him kind of coming out of his kind of fear, remembers what you should be doing. "I do forget. Do not muse at me, my most worthy friends. I have a strange infirmity which is nothing to those that know me. Come, love, and health to all. Then I'll sit down. Give me some wine, fill full." So he's basically saying, look, if you knew me better, you'd understand I do this kind of thing all the time. This is completely normal for me to just have a kind of strange mental episode and to behave very bizarrely in front of all my friends. You'll get used to it. The ghost comes back. "I drink to the general joy," says Macbeth, carrying on, "of the whole table." So he just raises his glass and basically saying, "Cheers to everybody. And to our dear friend Banquo," he can't stop thinking about Banquo, "whom we miss, would he were here. To all and him we thirst, and all to all. The lords, our duties on the pledge," and everybody drinks. So it's kind of the banquet's back on track. Just then, though, Macbeth sees the ghost for the second time. "Avaunt and quit my sight. Let the earth hide thee. Thy bones are marrowless. Thy blood is cold. Thou hast no speculation in those eyes which thou dost glare with." So he's just got really angry now. He's telling the ghost to go away, get back in the ground, and just get away from me. Lady Macbeth, again, "Think of this, good peers." She's trying to calm everyone down. "Think of this, good peers, but as a thing of custom. 'Tis no other, only it spoils the pleasure of the time." Just think of this as it's a strange little habit that Macbeth's got. It's a shame it's spoiling tonight's meal. So she's trying to normalise it, play it down. And Macbeth, on the other hand, is having a complete meltdown. Macbeth screaming, "What man dare I dare? Approach thou like the rugged Russian bear, the armed rhinoceros, or the hurricane, I think it's like hurricane, I think it's tiger. Take any shape but that, and my firm nerves shall never tremble. Or be alive again, and dare me to the desert with thy sword. If trembling I inhabit them, protest me, the baby of a girl. Hence, horrible shadow, unreal mockery, hence." So Macbeth is saying, look, I am a brave man. What man dare I dare? He said, "I'd fight a Russian bear, I'd fight an armored rhinoceros, I'd fight a tiger, I'd fight anything, and I would never be scared. My firm nerves shall never tremble." So he's just saying how brave he is. But he wants Banquo's ghost to just come back to be alive again, and I'm going to kill you all over again. Because at the moment, I'm acting like a baby girl, he's saying. Okay? I'm not normally like this. The ghost goes, "Why so, being gone? Why so, being gone? I am a man again. Pray you sit still." So it's almost like, the table, the people at the table keep standing up, thinking, should we go? Being told to sit down, then they stand up again, then they're told to sit down. It's a kind of an element of comedy in this scene, as Macbeth is going through this kind of trauma. Then Macbeth says, "You have displaced the mirth, broke the good meeting with most admired disorder." So she's telling him off. She has to be seen to do something. So they see her kind of telling him off, which hopefully is going to kind of repair the damage. Macbeth says, "Can such things be? And overcome us like a summer's cloud with our special wonder? You make me strange even to the disposition that I owe, when now I think you can behold such sights and keep the natural ruby of your cheeks when mine is blanched with fear." Ross is confused by what Macbeth has just said there. Macbeth is kind of saying that, I'm seeing things, terrible things, and you're not seeing them. Okay, it confuses me that I'm so scared of what I'm seeing and you're not. And Ross asks a dangerous question. He might not know it's a dangerous question, But the question he's asking, if Macbeth answers it honestly, and the state that Macbeth's in, he might do, would be devastating, and potentially be a confession from Macbeth of what he's done, which would lead to him being executed. So this question from Ross is very dangerous. All of a sudden, this scene shifts on one question. Lady Macbeth sees the danger and tries to shut it down. She says, "I pray you, speak not. He grows worse and worse. Question enrages him." Okay. "At once, good night. Stand not upon the order of your going, but go at once." She basically gets the room to clear. She sees the danger. Macbeth is not calming down. Macbeth is a liability. Macbeth might confess to what he's done with Banquo. He might confess to what he's done with Duncan. And that is far too dangerous. So she gets everybody out of the room. Lennox says, "Good night and better health, attend his majesty." "A kind good night to all." And everyone goes, leaving Lady Macbeth and Macbeth on stage alone. So with everyone gone, Macbeth and Lady Macbeth are on stage alone. And Macbeth says, "It will have blood, they say. Blood will have blood." That's a good quote, so remember that one. It's quite a simple one. "Stones have been known to move and trees to speak. Augurs and understood. What relations have by maggot pies and choughs and rooks brought forth the secrets man of blood? What is the night? Amongst at odds with morning, which is which?" Lady Macbeth sounds dejected, exhausted, and confused. Macbeth, "How says that Macbeth denies his person at our great bidding?" Suddenly Macbeth brings in the idea of Macduff. Macduff is one of the noblemen, one of the other Thanes, the Thane of Fife, and he wasn't at the banquet. Macbeth is asking Lady Macbeth, what do you think about that? It's a strange thing for him to suddenly jump to in terms of what they have been talking about. She says, "Did you send to him, sir?" Macbeth replies, "I hear it's by the way, but I will send. There is not a one of them but in his house I keep a servant feed. I will tomorrow, and betimes I will, to the weird sisters. More shall they speak, for now I am bent to know, by the worst means, the worst. For mine own good and causes shall give way. I am in blood stepped in so far, that should I wade no more, returning were as tedious as go over. Strange things I have in head, that will to hand, which must be acted, ere they may be scanned." And at the end of that kind of longer speech there, we get a sense of what Macbeth's intentions are for the rest of his story. First of all, he reveals that he's got a spy in the Macduff household. One of the servants that works for Macduff is actually a double agent working for Macbeth. So he can hear some of the things or get an idea of what's going on in Macduff's life through the servant spy. Second thing is that he plans to go and see the witches again. He wants to find out more. He says, "More shall they speak," because he just feels unclear, uncertain, and because that's where this whole kind of situation has come from, he needs to go back and speak to them. He then says, and I've already highlighted in the orange, "I am in blood stepped in so far, should I wade no more, returning were as tedious as go over." That means that he's killed so many people already that if he was going to kind of stop killing now to kind of go back the way he's come, would be just as awful as if he kept going the way he's been going. And finally he says, "Strange things have I in head." So he's got some strange thoughts in his head, but what he's planning on he's going to do with those strange thoughts is he's just got to think about it. He's going to let his hand do whatever it wants to do. So he's going to act now on instinct and not kind of second guess and ponder and delay. He's going to work on impulse. Lady Macbeth says, "You lack the season of all nature's sleep." Macbeth says, "Come, will to sleep. My strange and self-abuse is the initiate fear that wants hard use. We are yet but young indeed." And then they leave and go to bed. And that nice little end there, "We are yet but young indeed," suggesting that they are just beginning their career as criminals, as murderers. Okay? Okay, so now we're going to watch that scene in performance. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Sit down at first and last. The hearty welcome.
Thanks to your majesty.
Ourself will mingle with society and play the humble host. Our hostess keeps her state, but in best time, we shall require her welcome.
Pronounce it for me, sir, to all our friends. For my heart speaks. They are welcome.
See, they encounter thee with their hearts, thanks. Both sides are even. Hear us sit in the midst. But first, we'll drink a measure the table round. There's blood upon my face.
'Tis Banquo's, then.
'Tis better thee without than he within. Is he dispatched?
My lord, his throat is cut. That I did for him.
Thou art the best of the cutthroats. Yet he's good that did the like for fleers. If thou didst it, thou art the nonpareil.
Most royal sir, Fleance escaped.
Then comes my fit again. I'd else been perfect, whole as the marble, founded as the rock, as broad and general as the casing air. But now I'm cabined, cribbed, confined, bound into saucy doubts and fears. But Banquo's safe.
Aye, my good lord. Safe in a ditch he bides, with 20 trenched gashes on his head, the least a death to nature.
Thanks for that. There the grown serpent lies, the worm that's fled has nature that in time shall venom breed. No teeth for the present.
My royal lord, you do not give the cheers.
Sweet remembrance, sir. Now, good digestion waits on appetite.
And health on both.
Here had we now our country's honour. Roofed were the graced person of our Banquo present, who may be rather challenged for unkindness than pity for mischance.
His absence, sir, lays blame upon his promise. Will please your highness grace us with your royal company?
The table's full.
Here's a place reserved, sir.
Where?
Here, my good lord. What is that moves your highness?
Which of you have done this?
What, my good lord?
Thou canst not say I did it. Never shake thy gory locks at me.
Gentlemen, rise. His highness is not well.
Sit, worthy friends. My lord is often thus, and hath been from his youth. Pray you keep seat. The fit is momentary. Upon a thought he will again be well. If much you note him, you will offend him and extend his passion. Are you a man?
Aye, and a bold one that dare look on that, which might appall the devil.
Proper stuff. This is the very painting of your fear. This is the air-drawn dagger which you said led you to Duncan. Oh, these flaws and starts. Impostors to true fear would well become a woman's story at a winter's fire authorized by her grandam. Shame itself! Why do you make such faces? When all's done, you look but on a stool.
Behold! Look! How say you? What care I if thou canst not speak to? If charnel houses in our graves must send those that we bury back, our monuments shall be the maws of kites.
But quite unmanned in folly.
If I stand here, I saw him!
Fie for shame!
The time has been that when the brains were out, the man would die. And there an end. But now they rise again with 20 mortal murders on their crowns and push us from our stools. This is more strange than such a murder is.
My worthy lord, your noble friends do lack you.
I do forget. Do not muse at me. My most worthy friends, I have a strange infirmity which is nothing to those that know me. Come, love and health to all. Then I'll sit. Give me some wine. Fill full. I drink to the general joy of the whole table and to our dear friend Banquo, whom we miss, would he were here. To all and him, we thirst. Sight! Let the earth hide thee! Thy bones are marrowless. Thy blood is cold. Thou hast no speculation in those eyes which thou dost glare with.
Think of this, good peers, but as a thing of custom, 'tis no other. Only it spoils pleasure of the time.
What man I dare approach thou like the rugged Russian bear, the armed rhinoceros, the heckin' tiger, take any shape but this, and my firm nerves will never tremble or be alive again, and dare me to the desert with thy sword, if trembling I inhabit, then protest with the baby of a girl. Hence, horrible shadow, and real mockery, hence! Being gone, I am a man again. Pray, you sit still.
You have displaced the mirth, broke the good meeting with most admired disorder.
Can such things be and overcome us like a summer's cloud without our special wonder? You make me strange even to the disposition that I owe, and now I think you can behold such sights and keep the natural ruby in your cheek when mine is blanched with fear.
What sights, my lord?
I pray you, speak not. He grows worse and worse. Question enrages him. At once, good night. Stand not upon the order of your going, but go at once.
Good night. And better health attend his majesty.
A kind good night to all.
It will have blood. They say blood will have blood. Stones have been known to move, and trees to speak. Auguries and understood relations have by maggot pies and choughs and rooks brought forth the secrets to man of blood. What is the night?
Almost at odds with morning.
Which is which?
How sayest thou, Macduff denies his person at our great bidding?
Did you send to him, sir?
I hear it by the way, but I will send. There's not a one of them but in his house I keep a servant feed. I will tomorrow, and betimes I will to the weird sisters. More shall they speak, for now I am bent to know by the worst means the worst. For mine own good all causes shall give way. I am in blood stepped in so far that should I wade no more, returning were as tedious as go on. Strange things I have in head, which will to hand, which must be acted, ere they may be scanned.
You lack the season of all natures. Sleep.
Come me to sleep. My strange and self-abuse is the initiate fear that wants hard use. We are yet but young, indeed.
So, here are revision notes for this scene, Act 3, Scene 4. Macbeth is hosting a royal banquet with all the nobility of Scotland. The royal couple are trying their best to be good hosts. The murderers return from killing Banquo to report to Macbeth. The news of Fleance obviously upsets him. Macbeth toasts the missing Banquo. This only serves to make his absence seem more suspicious. Banquo's ghost torments Macbeth by sitting at his place at the table. Lady Macbeth does her best to make her husband's behaviour seem reasonable, but when she thinks he might start to confess to murders, she sends everyone off to bed. Macbeth has concerns about Macduff now. He plans to visit the witches in order to get more information out of them. So it's quite a turning point in the story, this scene. We've got the end of the Macbeth sequence, the Banquo sequence. That's kind of come to an end here. Banquo's ghost is the last time we see him. And we get the start now of the final series of events. So the return of the witches and the emergence of Macduff as being someone that Macbeth is worried about. That's now going to be played out between this point and the end of the play. So this is the kind of the start of the end, as it were. The first half of the play, the rise of Macbeth, him murdering Duncan, becoming king, killing Banquo. That is kind of like the first phase, or the first and second phase of the story. And now we are moving into the end game, with the witches are going to come back into it, and Macduff is going to pose a real threat and a real problem to Macbeth's power. Get those notes done, and obviously, if this lesson has taken longer than expected, then please use some time for my next lesson to use it to finish off. Okay, take care, bye bye.